Hello and welcome to the spiciest deck I ever made a top 8 with. So this deck is a balancing act deck, and this card is supposed to be the kind of fixed balance, but it's totally not because it does all permanents in play. So that's artifacts, creatures, enchantments and lands, and planeswalkers, but we don't have those. So each player, we look at who has the fewest permanents in play, and then everyone else sacrifices down to that number. We do the same with cards in hand, so whoever has the fewest cards in hand, everyone else will discard down until they have the same number as that player, so it balances everything. Meaning if we have nothing in play, they have to sack everything, which is where our wacky and crazy mana base comes in. We're playing all of these, as well as these ones too. These have an ability that lets us sacrifice them to add 2 mana to our mana pool. This speeds up our deck, but it also allows us to sacrifice everything, meaning we have nothing in play, so they have to balance down and also sack everything. We have these 2 mana fixing eggs that can help us to find the colors that we need, because some of those lands, they kind of add weird colors. Also for creatures, we have a Nereid Brushhopper, which can phase itself out before everything blows up, then come back to beat down, or we can float 3 mana and then play a Terravore after everything's resolved. It will usually be massive and game ending. We also have Tinderwall, which is kind of like an early game blocker, but we can also sacrifice it to add mana and speed up our clock. So of course, Balancing Act is just one card, we can't just rely on that, so we're also playing Obliterate, which has a very similar effect. It doesn't hit enchantments, but it cannot be countered, which is absolutely devastating against control decks. And we are playing a wish board with Burning Wish. I absolutely love wish boards. This one allows us to get any sorceries from our sideboard into our hand. Now, we're playing extra copies of Balancing Act and Obliterate, so it's effectively like we're running 7 main deck, but we're also playing stuff to kill artifacts, enchantments, graveyards, creatures. We have a Reanimate that can help us reanimate either our own big creature or maybe one of theirs. We have Overmaster to stop counterspells, really any great sorceries that you can think of. We're also playing Orim's Chant, which can kind of be like a pseudo Time Walk sometimes. We can use it to either stop them from countering our Balancing Act or stop them attacking. We can also use it to slow them down, and Fire Ice is very similar. It can kill creatures or it can tap annoying stuff. So we've already been over the lands before, I won't go over those again, we're just playing all of these, that's it. And for the sideboard, we've already been over the wish board, but for other slots we'll want maybe extra copies of Orim's Chant, extra sweepers like Pyroclasm, Wrath of God, something for graveyards, maybe something to stop all those Wastelands and Rishadan ports from untapping. And this deck, it doesn't really have too many options because it's fairly streamlined on what it does, but you might have options on the wish board. You could play any of these, you can play any sorcery really. So sometimes when playing the deck, sometimes you literally just want to sacrifice all your lands, float 3 mana, play a Balancing Act, and then just play the huge creature afterwards and just dominate the game. So sometimes this is just good enough to absolutely win on the spot. Most decks don't see this coming, so it really will make them just sacrifice everything and be a total surprise. And of course, sometimes you'll have a Nereid Brushhopper in play first, which can jump out of play while you completely blow up the world, and then while everything is getting destroyed and gone, it can come back ready to beat our opponents down. It's also worth noting that this deck plays very well off the top and with nothing, because it has more lands on average than usual, and those lands also add 2 mana each if we want them to. Also, we have quite a few fixing cards in our deck, as well as a lot of bombs and haymakers. So this means that we can just reset the game back to 0 and go into top deck mode with the confidence that our deck is more likely to draw out of it than the average mid-range or control deck. And the classic combo of beatdown plus disruption works wonders here, but it's worth saying different disruption works in different situations. So counterspell obviously does nothing against Obliterate, and duress is no good if they just top deck the kind of board sweeper, but in general, beatdown plus disruption is an excellent plan. It's also worth saying that there are different strategies that are just generally good against this deck, Burn especially, which can attack us around our big creatures, doesn't rely on much mana to work, and can empty its hand extremely quickly for a balance. Cards like Meddling Mage that can just stop us from playing Obliterate or whatever we want to play, and as well fast combos that can kill us before we do our thing, such as a turn 1 Phyrexian Dreadnought, because we don't actually have too much creature interaction besides our big sweepers. So we're definitely somewhere in between combo and control, but it's kind of hard to classify exactly where. In every game, we're essentially just trying to blow up the board and then beat them down with one of our huge creatures. In different matchups, we'll try to do it faster, in others we'll try to do it slower, but we're still going for the same plan overall. The strengths of this deck are definitely surprise factor. It can get free wins from that crazy balance effect. It does attack from a very different angle, and it mulligans well. Even a 2-card hand of just a land and balance, if we draw another land, we can just totally wipe them out of everything. And the weaknesses of the deck: burn, beats plus disruption. It relies quite heavily on balance effects, and also the mana base can be quite janky. So here's an example list, and as always, I do recommend you check out TC decks. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and it's a way of showing that you like the videos. So thank you and bye bye.